Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans and pets, welcome back to the 2021 League of Legends Asia Brawl, brought to you by Trovo.live. If you're watching the stream, have a like, subscribe, and turn that bell on to all notification bells. This is your chance to get your stuff ready. Share the stream with your friends, your grandparents. I don't know why grandparents, but with your family, have them come watch the biggest event in the community yet for the world of League of Legends Wild Rift. Today, we're joined by some special guests. First, it's your favorite guy, AssassinDave. Along with me today are super sexy, yet handsome, yet beautiful, Xcontrol and TJ. How you guys doing?
I thought I was going to be the favorite guy. I'm just super upset about that.
Too late.
I don't know how Dave linked those compliments together, but he said yet, so I was expecting there to be something negative, but it was just positive to positive, so thank you, Dave.
Yeah. You got everything all together, you know, so. But today, guys, we have the Week 1, Day 1 of the group stage. It's the entire tournament will be laid out in total of 6 stages. We're in the stage 1 tournament where we have a group stage and a playoff stage. Group stage, we have 16 teams separated into 4 groups. They're going to do round robins. So basically, single round robins, by the way. Every team will play against 3 other teams in the best out of 3 fashion. They're only going to play once. If they finish that game, they're done with that team until playoff, if they are able to make it outside out of the group. Now, today, the first game, we have none other than Omega versus Bigatron, 2 powerhouse from the Asia region. All the teams who are invited are the power concentration. I don't know the right word, but yes, we got the best of the best players, the pro players, competitive players, the future official pro players, all in today's tournament. So make sure to stay tuned for all the future games because this is very, very exciting. Now, first game, what are you guys looking forward to for today's band picks?
Oof, well, I think, are we allowed to talk about the bands since we know them?
Yeah, of course. You can talk about the first game, the band already finished.
Thank God. Sure. Thank God Evelyn is banned because that champion is broken as hell. She is the most ridiculous mid laner in the game right now. She could push wave level 1, invade the jungle buff level 2. Basically, if you don't have a strong jungler, your life is over. So I'm so glad that we're not going to see Evelyn. I mean, she needs to be nerfed into the ground. Interestingly enough, though, Bigatron banned Brawl, which would suggest to me that they're probably looking to take an Alistair early rotation because Brawl is one of the few champions that actually can do quite well into Alistair at the laning phase. And then Omega banned Gragas and Akali, and I know Dave, I know you'll be really sad that Akali got banned. I'm never sure that Akali warrants a ban. I don't think she's as strong enough to say ban worthy, but Gragas for sure. Gragas is nutty, like he's just so flexible. Can be played like Baron lane, mid lane, jungle or support if you have to. So I think the bans are good. I'm just especially happy to see Evelyn banned.
Yeah, what about you, TJ?
I'm basically here as a spectator because I've been watching some of the tournaments on your channel, but I, in North America, don't get to play the game on low ping yet. So I have my theories. Like, I think Braum is really sick. I agree that Evelyn is very busted. I agree that Akali is super annoying to play against. So far, it's all living up to my expectations, but I'm being careful not to set too many expectations.
Yeah. Well, the first game band pick, as you heard, is already starting, and the bands are being finished. So I just want to lay out all the bands all together so you guys can, all the viewers can have a good idea of exactly what has been banned away. For Bigatron Infinity, they have banned Evelyn and Braum, and Omega Esports banned Gragas and Akali. So they're getting ready to start the pick phase. But before we actually get to watch the pick, I do want to do a big shout out for all of our generous sponsors, without whom this tournament would not be possible. If you're watching the stream, guys, and you're wondering, how is this biggest Wild Rift event happening so quickly? How is happiness coming so sudden? Well, Big shout out to Trovo.live. Trovo is a Wild Rift official partner, and Trovo is hosting a variety of tournaments, events for League of Legends Wild Rift with a bunch of prizes for you to claim, including for this tournament, we have 30,000 Wild Core giveaway throughout the entire tournament. So definitely stay tuned. Do not miss a match. Without Trovo's generous support, the tournament would not be possible. So if you're watching the stream right now, weekly Sunday matches and grand final for Wild Rift Asia Brawl will be streamed on Trovo exclusively. Make sure to use the link and head to Trovo right away. Now, another shout out is to our awesome organizer, host, aka Wild Rift Competitive. Wild Rift Competitive is central place for all things competitive. They host weekly tournaments and events for the community. They also provide an easy way to find scrimmage and recruit for your team. Interest in competitive news? Well, they also provide that and show all the current tournaments going on right now in Wild Rift. So use the social links in description and go to follow Wild Rift Competitive right away. With that, we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the ban picks already happening right now. So let's go ahead and switch to the picks right away.
I've got gloves here and I'm really cold. Do I put them on or take them off? Excoundrel, this is important.
Keep your gloves on. Keep your gloves on.
Keep my gloves on. Okay.
Do we know which
right now you're watching the Omega Esports perspective, and every time I switch perspectives,
okay.
I'll let you know.
Cool.
Stronger
so yeah, there was
and Arise are over on Omega Esports.
Got it. So as we said, the Brawl ban suggested an early Alistair rotation. That's what we got. So we got a very early Alistair pick from the Bigatron Esports. I think Alistair is still probably the strongest support in the meta, but Lulu, I've found, has been a pretty solid counter to him in the laning phase. If you know the engage range of the Alistair Headbutt Pulverize combo, and you're just able to get an early harass from level 1 onwards, I think that's a pretty good lane for a Mega here. So interested to see these two comps in action, TJ. I think just off the bat right now, I think I prefer the Omega Esports composition. The main reason being is that they just have a beautiful teamfight wombo combo. I mean, when you've been casting League of Legends, obviously, so you kind of have that kind of knowledge of how these kind of comps are going to work. But when you see an Orianna Lulu Misfortune, you're getting wombo combo central when those ultimates come online at level 5. So they've got beautiful potential first dragon fight control. They've got great objective control if they can group up, but they need to group up to make it work.
I'm really interested in the AD carry match as we get into this. So I was curious for your perspective on which AD carries you think are most relevant right now. Because I've been seeing a lot of Misfortune in the games I've watched, but I'm not sure if that's meta.
So Jhin is absolutely the best AD carry in the meta right now, I would say personally, but obviously he wasn't picked here. Misfortune, however, it's much easier to bully a Kai'Sa with Misfortune. In fact, I'd say Misfortune's probably the biggest lane bully AD carry in the game right now. Her double up damage is absolutely ridiculous if you can land it, bouncing off the wave. But what's happened here is we've actually had a lane swap initiated by initiated by Omega. This is something that we saw 16-bit do in the previous tournament that Dave ran, and there is no penalty to switching lanes in Wild Rift compared to League of Legends. A lot of my viewers have, a lot of people that know me from League of Legends. There is a penalty in League of Legends for switching your bot lane to top, because it basically created a very, very awful meta about 5 years ago. TJ, you might be able to help me out on that one. It was a very, very long time ago that we saw that happen. But there's no penalty for doing that in Wild Rift. So if you can, and it works out for you, then absolutely go for the lane swap scenario, because you can potentially get that first tower really early and just make rotations happen on the map. But we have an engage already.
Yeah, that lane swap enables this bot lane to get in on a jungler. Control thought that it was going to be able to contest an early scuttle, have a great time in the river. And guess what? There are two players down here on the dragon side already pinning Mallow behind his turret and being able to lock down early river control.
Ooh, initiation.
Ooh, he maybe overstepped. He overstepped a little bit here too far, TJ.
And the chase down will come through. That's going to be smart. Going down, but a 1-for-1 trade. Over the wall onto Harry. That's an Alistair. Will go down eventually, making it a positive trade for Omega, as they're able to pick up several engagements down here in the river, and that's going to be the turret probably knocked down as well.
It's going to be close. They have a large minion wave to work with here. looks like we're switching back over to the side of Bigatron, and actually, this is one of the issues with Kai'Sa into a Garen in a 1v1. Like, you've let Kai'Sa go into the 1v1 versus Garen, but Garen actually has a lot of movement speed. He has a lot of burst damage, level 5. If he flashes on you, silences you, then just spins you to death with his ultimate being the execute, you've got to be very careful. This might even be that case right now.
Here. But able to play around the edge using that little dash, the move speed buff, to stay just out of range of the scary spinning Beyblade. And as a result, this lane isn't going nearly as one-sided. You can see that the lane swap with the Garen means that poor Dua can't shove in to the same extent that's happening to his own top laner.
Well, that's the thing. Whenever you go for a lane swap scenario, when you pick your Baron laner, you need to have a Baron laner that is comfortable clearing waves, because obviously when you initiate a lane swap, you're putting yourself at the same, you're potentially putting yourself at the same disadvantage with the 2v1 scenario. That's not what Bigatron have actually done here, but when you make the draft happen, you have to think, I need a Baron laner that's going to comfortably clear waves under tower relatively quickly. So that's kind of what Garen can do. He can just spin on the wave and just clear it for, relatively little knockback.
I want to note two things here. First of all, we did just get, I believe, the beginnings of the lane swap back again. And second of all, Harry, the support for Bigatron, spent this early phase kind of swapped down towards the 2v1 lane. Now he'll show up and remind Team Apps that it's not nearly so easy to recall behind your own turret.
Yeah, I actually think it was a sensible decision, because when you make a lane swap happen like this, as you saw from what the Lee Sin did in the jungle, you have that huge pressure on the bot side of the map. You're going into a fairly weak first clear jungler. Like, Wukong's first clear is very weak. He gets taken pretty low. And so Lee Sin was looking to exploit that. I think we're going to lose Garen on the bot side of the map here. It looked like there was a huge fight down there. Yeah, we do.
So we also have a Drake tank currently underway. This is Timelapse and the rest of Omega Esports trying to burn it down. And it looks like they'll get that uncontested. So it's a cross-map trade.
That was sensible. As soon as the jungler shows himself on the bottom side of the map, that gives you all of the agency in the world to go for that Drake. And Drakes they're worth a lot in Wild Rift compared to maybe what you're used to from League of Legends. So, we've got another engage here coming through.
It's going to get more complicated. We saw the Wild Growth spent right off the bat on Impressive, which made him impressively large Scoundrel. And as a result, was able to 2v1 kind of in the front lines now. The full rotate has come through. This is 4 members of Omega Esports, all the way over here on the Dragon side.
Yeah, they lose the first turret of the game, so there's a small gold bonus that you get for that. But taking the Drake, uncontested, very important. They return with their own tower in that dragon lane. So actually, this has been a pretty good start for Omega in this game. I don't think the lane swap worked out the way they wanted it to work out. However, making the swap happen back again as soon as Wukong showed on the bottom side of the map with Ahri immediately for Dragon, because they were already set up for it. It was just really nice play from Omega. So I would say right now advantage lies with Omega, and it's up to Bigatron to start to try and find their way back into this game.
Yeah, and I would like to clarify, as I've been getting my bearings, I think you can tell, we are sitting on various pro players' perspectives here. We don't have a full spectate mode in the game yet. So if we do miss any engagements or anything like that across the map, we're trying our very hardest.
Yes.
Omega so far out ahead, and they're trying to redouble this lead Scoundrel, because we're seeing an engagement here around the Rift Herald. Smart does get that Wild Growth again here on the front lines, and we'll have to flash away for the fight. It doesn't get the mistake, but Smart is here with a beautiful bullet time. Omega will clean up the fight. A devastating triple kill for that Lee Sin.
Oh my gosh, that kick was absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the engage was good, don't get me wrong. Waters over the wall, Wukong into ult. Like, it seemed like a good engage off the back of it. I don't know what the vision control was like for Bigatron in that scenario, but now they're going to lose another tower in the Baron lane here. So it's not looking good as a start for Bigatron. I don't think they have a particularly cohesive composition when it comes to team fights. They're going to be relying a lot on the power of Kai'Sa in the later stages of the game to potentially bring them back into this. Looks like, however,
another skirmish up here on the top side. That was Impressive. Still cleaning up kills up top. Another double kill for the Lee Sin in jungle. As Omega Esports get yet more gold in their own pockets.
Yeah, and like we talked about at the start of the game, the Omega Esports roster, their actual composition is designed to wombo combo in team fights. Like it's designed to have either Lee Sin jump in or like someone delivered the ball system for Orianna. Orianna's just dead here. I think she's just dead. Someone delivers the ball for Orianna. They get Lulu ulted, so they get the knock-up, they get the extra health, you shockwave on top of them, and then the bullet time comes down on top of that. You can see how devastating that's going to be in like a 4v4 or a 5v5 scenario.
Bigatron trying to get something back over here. The wild growth was spent on the stronger themselves. Just a very big Lulu momentarily to stay safe from nuts as they roamed up from the midline. Up and down are relative. I have to dial back into Arena of Valor. Did Vainglory have the mirrored map thing?
For 5v5, yes. But anyway, I think we've got another fight going on here.
Bullet time will scare back the players underneath the second tower, as the first tower did go down here to Omega. They'll be picking up yet more kills as this game looks devastating.
Yeah, I mean, you just saw there, like, I'm struggling to see how the Bigatron composition actually approaches a team fight scenario. Like, how does Bigatron...
You didn't tell me we had replays.
We got replays, Dave.
This is
yes, sir.
sick.
We have everything.
Shout out to producer Dave. So really impressive team fight again, and you were talking about the wombo combo potential of Omega, and you're seeing here that even without the full set combos, they just have so many abilities that overlap. We use a phrase in League of Legends esports, we say ease of execution, and I think that's very obviously the advantage that Omega have in any team fight.
This is a very easy comp to execute in. As you said, Garen or Lee Sin runs in. You have the wild growth to back them up. You put the ball on top of them for extra protection, but also for the setup on Shockwave. And then all Miss Fortune needs to do is press her ultimate and aim it in the right direction. And your team fight's already won. But like I said, I don't know how Bigatron... I mean, like I can't feasibly see a way if Bigatron get into a 5v5 where they win. That's the problem. Like
not now, anyway.
No, but even before that, you needed to snowball off the Ahri roams, I think. Like, Wukong and Ahri needed to have the games of their life to actually even get to a point where the team fight was relevant for you. Because, even Olaf, like, all he can do is just run at you. And if he's just going to run straight through a bullet time, which is never good for him. Got another fight opening up here, though, TJ.
Deep dive from the Garen. There will be a threat momentarily onto Tamelapse, which is a very important pick if they can get it knocked into GA, but... I think Tamelapse will be back up, and BMLC is right here on the front lines with a rise behind from the back lines. Tamelapse will finally go down, and in that time, while all the focus has been diving from Bigatron forward onto a Misfortune, the rest of the Omega Esports team were able to clean up the fight.
Exactly. You kind of hit the nail on the head there. Whilst they did a 3-man dive onto this Misfortune, as you can see back here, like, I mean, if you just watch Tamelapse on the back line, 3 people going to dive on him, the Alistair, the Olaf, and the Wukong. Well, Kai'Sa's by herself. She's dead already. And then Ahri's being chased out of the fight, and then it just takes the rest of the Infinity or Omega lineup to come back and refocus the back of the fight and take out the rest of the members. So that was just, again, they really just had complete... like bull red eye vision for the Misfortune, and unfortunately they didn't realize that the rest of their team was getting completely obliterated on the back line. And I think that if the Kai'Sa is not in...
Sorry, I was going to say, to be fair, I think it is the right call to focus Tamelapse, as we do see another skirmish there on the top side. Getting rid of the Misfortune bullet time in these fights, as we were talking about, is super important. It's just that that's not the only threat anymore.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but also my perspective would be that actually I think it's much more important to try and create space for your Kai'Sa. The only person that is going to carry you in this game, if you have any hope in hell, the only person that's going to carry you in this game is a Kai'Sa who is incredibly fed and has protection. So my alternative viewpoint would be that actually what you should do is try and expend everything to kite for this Kai'Sa and get her as much gold as physically possible, because she is the only person that is going to get you through the late game here. She is the only person.
Bigatron with finally a little bit of a wombo combo. Oh my lord, the shockwave. That's going to get very dangerous for Bigatron. A 3v1 has just spiraled out of control. Impressive shuts down the kill behind the turret. They may be able to get a 1-for-1 trade here. Knocked into the GA. Is the player pushing into the bush, but that is going to be all they get. Smart is able to turn the fight a massive team fight for Omega. There's not even a 3v1 goes Bigatron's way.
And a beautiful timing on the Guardian Angel here. And I think at this point, it feels like Omega in complete control. Looks like they're going to take a really, really sensible path. Oh, we've got another fight opening up.
Oh, bullet time. I saw it already. It just lays into the
God.
entire team. And Tamelapse does so much damage for Omega. Harry will be kiting forward, does have decent CC, but there's nothing to follow it up anymore. And as a result, it is going to be Bigatron losing yet another critical fight here around the Drake. I don't see a way back into this. We've been saying that for a while, but I think it's time to start talking about the next game. Is there, X-Scoundrel, as this Nexus is taken, a different draft strategy that you think will change this outcome?
Yes, I think there is, mate. I think, unfortunately, that what you drafted, you needed to be lane dominant. And I think that's why the Omega Esports, the way they executed the early game kind of shut down the entire point of the Bigatron Esports roster, because basically the lane swap meant that Olaf couldn't be lane dominant, couldn't get rolling. You shut the Wukong down early. You didn't have the 2v2 where the Alistair and the Kai'Sa could potentially find openings post level 5. All of that went out the window. So the laning phase, where I would think that Bigatron needed to get ahead, was just shut down by the lane swap. And that was just a really, really intelligent play, I think, from Omega.
You were talking about how important the Kai'Sa had to be, and by the point that the Kai'Sa should have been online and winning team fights, Dua had already been knocked out of the game entirely. And of course, impressive, I think, is easily the MVP. Dave, do we have the power to give MVPs?
Of course. I just want to say though, when you're watching different players' perspective, they were a little bit confusing because the players have different delays. We're trying to settle that where the players don't have any delays, so synced, and we can see different players' perspective. That's why it's a little bit chaotic.
Did we catch that last fight twice? Is that what happened?
No, you caught the fight once, but it basically, when I switched back to Omega, there was another fight happen because they're so far ahead. The other ones were.
I think we skipped like 30 seconds into the future or something like that.
Forward in time. I was trying to work out how it had happened. Producer Dave is warping the fabric of space-time.
But don't worry.
It's not only producer Dave. It's analyst Dave as well. I'd love to hear Dave's thoughts on this game.
Well, I personally love Miss Fortune as a pick. It's heavily used in high rank competitive in all the C regions, and then I think all the regions across the world. Once you get, because it's all about lane bullying and rotate ahead of your enemy. If you can press your lane, then it's very, very good, and that's exactly what Omega Esports picked. They have Lee Sin, which is really strong early game. They have a lane bully like Orianna, lane bully like Miss Fortune. So I think they're on draft wise, they just have a really good, strong early game presence, and they snowball with it.
I was really impressed by the way Impressive was playing the match, and I want to call that out because it's very difficult from our perspective to catch macro play, but Impressive as a jungler was putting out a very, very strong jungle performance just in terms of being present in the fights, leading his team towards objectives.
I actually just think that the overall macro play from Omega was just super good this game. Like I praised 16-bit in Dave's previous tournament because they just out macroed they just out macroed every game that they played. I actually think when you look at individual skill, Aether Rift probably had the more individually skilled players, but they just weren't up to the macro level that 16-bit were putting out as a team. So the macro from Omega this game was really strong. And again, I love lane swaps. And because there's really no disadvantage for doing it in Wild Rift, it can really throw a spanner in the works of your composition if you have to play into a lane swap. And I think Omega did a good job there.
Well, overall, what do y'all think that Bigatron need to do next game? You would have a better chance.
I think we both agreed draft a composition that doesn't get bullied out of the game in the first 5 minutes. But I also want to see a little bit more presence around objectives. It's kind of hard to keep track of vision because we don't have a spectator mode yet. Yeah. But I was noticing that they very rarely had warding at or around the Drakes, at or around the Rift Heralds. during the critical early game fights where they needed to win it. I think the only exception was that hop over the wall that they tried to turn into a team fight down by the Baron lane.
I think personally I want to see a stronger jungler. If you're gonna have a Lee Sin, you need to have a jungler that is capable of keeping pace, and Wukong's not capable of keeping pace with the Lee Sin. Lee Sin's let's be honest, Lee Sin is just the best jungler in the game by far. I think there are a few junglers that come close. I would say Shyvana is probably the jungler that likely comes closest to Lee Sin in terms of keeping pace on the game. It also gives you really good objective control, which is super important in Wild Rift. So I think if you're going to go into a Lee Sin, you have to be really confident that your jungler is going to be able to at least keep pace with the Lee Sin. So I'd like to see that. And I agree. I think the prio on Alistar is great, but when lane swaps exist, Alistar becomes a little less useful. So maybe, or if you're going to pick Alistar, then set up for a tower dive. Like don't rotate Alistar into the lane with the Olaf. You've just got two melees into a ranged matchup. Then like two ranged Lulu and Misfortune into Alistar Olaf. You're going to lose that anyway. Keep Alistar with Kai'Sa. Maybe try and dive the Garen under the tower. Like you have some options that way. I just think that maybe you shouldn't have rotated the Alistar early.
So awesome, guys. I think that will conclude our game 1, and we're stepping into game 2. Both teams are getting ready, and this time we'll make sure that we have more of a sync. So when we watch a different team's perspective, it's less confusing for our audience. Like that, we are
less time travel.
Yeah, less time travel, exactly. So it's good for your brain that way. Anyways, guys, if you're watching a tournament, this entire Wild Rift Asia Brawl is sponsored by Trovo.live. They're a Wild Rift's official partner, and Trovo is hosting a lot of tournaments for Wild Rift entire community. If you look for future tournaments for EU, for Seed, or signing different teams, I think Noah just signed on Trovo.live as well. So you definitely want to check out their actions on the platform. Make sure to use the link to go watch Trovo, and we're going to do giveaways weekly for the tournament. So with that, guys, we're going to take a short 5-minute breaks for teams to get ready, and we'll see you guys in a little bit. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans and pets, once again, welcome back to the 2021 League of Legends Wild Rift Asia Brawl, where we invited all the best teams in the entire Asia, yes, to compete for a total of $7,000 over a course of 6 stages. This is going to be very, very exciting. Right now we're in stage 1, week 1 group stage of day 1. Game 1, Omega actually take a point away from Bigatron, and now we're in game 2. Bigatron need to win this game in order to take us to a 3-game series. Otherwise, we'll have to move on to the next game. Now, with me today is our awesome and sexy, not yet, and beautiful TJ, as well as Xcondro. How you guys doing?
I'm not yet sexy, apparently.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
We're both upset about that.
Soon into the future, we need to spend more time on Dave's stream, and then eventually we'll transcend to sexy. I've got it.
You need, if you hang around him long enough, you level up.
Yeah, you have different stages, you know. It's going to be exciting, though. We're going to step into the second game ban pick. The ban's already been finished. Well, I'll leave the caster to talk about the bans and picks right away. But before we get to that, I just want to do a big shout out to our sponsors. If you're watching the stream, this entire tournament is sponsored by Trovo.live. Trovo.live is Wild Rift's official partner, and Trovo is hosting a variety of tournaments, events for League of Legends Wild Rift with a bunch of prizes for you to claim, including 30,000 Wild Core giveaway throughout the entire tournament. So without Trovo's generous support, this tournament would not be possible. If you're watching the stream right now, weekly Sunday matches and grand final for Wild Rift Asia Brawl will be streamed on Trovo exclusively. So make sure to use the link and head to Trovo right away. Now, another shout out is to Wild Rift Competitive. They're the organizer for the entire tournament. It's also the central place for all things competitive for Wild Rift. They host weekly tournaments and events, so make sure to follow them with the social links below. With that, let's quickly step into the second game, ban pick. Take away.
Alright, Xcondro, I got the ban picks for you. The bans were Gragas and Akali from Omega, Evelyn and Orianna by Bigatron, sorry.
I think they Bigatron learnt their lesson with the Orianna pick. It was kind of like the skeleton key needed to unlock those team fights, and it was very impactful. Like you said, once Miss Fortune was down, they still had to worry about the Orianna, and these two team comps are shaping up now, and I love it. If this is a Shyvana lock-in, it's one of the few junglers that can keep pace with Lee, and I'd be really happy to see that.
We do get the Lee Sin again. That's Omega over there currently on the right-hand side. So we do get the Lee Sin again for impressive after a devastating game 1. That will be countered by a Shyvana. Also, I spy a cannon there. The newly added champion headed towards the top side.
Just added to the game, I believe, yesterday. And we're going to head over to the Omega side point of view here as well. I actually... Believe it or not, I actually prefer the Bigatron composition this time, because what Omega have done... Yeah, well, if you look at Omega, they've basically drafted the same thing, but they don't have the Wombo combo anymore. I mean, you have the ability to get the knockup with Alistair into the bullet time, but the Orianna, as I said, the Orianna was the skeleton key here, TJ.
Can I propose a theory, though? Arise has TF, and the cross-map mobility maybe makes up for it because you get a little bit more of that good macro from Omega.
And they're going for the lane stop as well. So this might be, if they're able to accelerate the game, TJ, as they did previously. Okay, so, go into the lane swap, push that Baron lane turret quickly as possible, then rotate around the map with Twisted Fate. But they're going for a level 1 invade here. I mean, this is something that you do see a relative amount of in Wild Rift, but this is pretty spicy.
It's super organized. That's what's exciting me about it. 3 players stay here to steal away the buff. The Bigatron side seem to have started laning standard. We don't have their POV. We're on the Omega side.
They did lane standard. The cannon is in the Baron lane. So I don't know. Like, I would have wanted to see Bigatron look to go and get some vision of the river to at least try and sniff out a lane swap and then react to it accordingly. The problem with Kennon's wave clear is garbage, like actually garbage. and so the problem that he's going to have here is that he could just get dived, which is looking like it's going to get set up now, and he's not going to be able to clear the wave in time.
Oh no, there's a little bit of turret aggro, but it all sorts out. There are 4 Omega players underneath that turret, and all of a sudden there are 0 Bigatron players underneath the turret.
Yeah, this is why early vision wins you games, guys. You can sniff out a lane swap coming and you can make something happen from it. And this is the perfect execution on a lane swap.
They get this?
Into the tower dive. Yeah, they will. They'll get this. Into the tower dive. Take that first turret at before 2 minutes into the game. That is disgusting.
That is, I was sure that there was going to be some kind of contest across the map from Bigatron, but they're just racing. Bigatron also trying to get a turret, which I believe they just did. We'll have to check when we get out of this replay. So it is a 1-for-1 turret trade. And I guess that's even. The one kill did go over to Omega there in the top side gang.
Yeah, I mean, you get the first tower gold, and they obviously get the first blood as well. And the beautiful thing about this... Sorry, carry on, yeah.
In League of Legends, we would say this was a loss for Omega because they don't have access to the early objectives in the Drakes. Do you think that's true in Wild Rift?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, this is a massive loss for no, not a loss for Omega. No, it's a loss for Bigatron because now Omega can just switch back to bot lane, and when the dragon spawns, they've got their bot laners, they've got their support and their AD carry on that side of the map. So there was absolutely no disadvantage to go for that lane swap because Dragon hadn't even spawned. So you got the first turret of the game before Dragon had even spawned, and so therefore it was just a complete net win for Omega.
I'm getting tripped up because the Omega players have smart at the end of their name. We will.
It's because they're smart players, dude. They're
we could tell it's
players.
The macro.
It's the macro, baby. They're very, very. I mean, honestly, it's been impressive, and Bigatron. I don't feel. I don't know if you've got this vibe, TJ, but I just don't think they really know how to respond to this level of macro play. Here comes the TF.
Oh, case in point, Omega TP in their mid laner, and as a result, with a stun and a silence, this will be an easy gank towards the Baron laner.
I respect the Kennen for keeping his ultimate, realizing that within the next minute, the dragon's going to spawn, and his ultimate is going to be far more important for impacting a potential dragon fight.
Sorry, I've just noticed that Kennen player is very perilously low on battery. If he disconnects, we'll know why. As you pointed out, holding on. Do you want to take a stab at that name? Holding on to his ultimate here, not spending any summoners that he wasn't going to be able to get back or anything like that, accepting the death and being back with full cooldowns.
I'm not going to take a stab at his name, unfortunately.
Cowardice. Here is our Drake, the first Drake of the game here, and Omega do have 5s and 6s across their entire teams. We will have full ultis. Here's the engage. Deep dive in. Tamelapse trying to flash out, but they're just destroyed by the slicing Maelstrom. No bullet time will be cast in this fight, and Tamelapse is knocked into GA. Bigatron winning a massive early team fight here. A complete sweep. Exactly what you forecasted, Xscoundrel, as there simply isn't the team fight presence that there was in Game 1.
Exactly. This is where the Orianna was a skeleton key. Like, she was the one thing that unlocked the team fight properly for Omega. And then that is why Kennen keeping hold of that slicing Maelstrom in that gank was very heads up and really important. And they made it work. Beautiful play from Bigatron to get themselves back into this game. That was absolutely disgusting, that Kennen ultimate. And nothing, again, the team fight, once the misfortune is caught, there is no team fight presence for the Omega roster. They don't have anything that can give you team-wide impact, like a big ultimate that will be able to impact everybody. Whereas there are loads of different abilities on the side of Bigatron that can do that. Like the Aurelion Soul does it naturally. You have the Kennen ultimate, as we said before. So there is, that was just really beautiful play from Bigatron, and getting that first Drake, oh so important.
It's becoming more and more important that we be able to pronounce the Kennen's name, and I'm not sure how we're going to handle it. Harry will zone off the pressure onto that turret, and Omega don't get anything, and now the flank comes through from mid lane. There's your A-Soul stun. Looks like Tamelapse and Kobold just run for their lives, sacrifice their cow, and a Glacial Fissure interrupts Tamelapse's escape. They're down. Impressive tries to turn. All 3 players there for Omega go down, plus the Alistair. It's a 4-man wipe down on the bottom side of the map. Only BLC still alive for Omega.
My God. It really does feel like the team that drafts the better team fight is winning at the end of the day. And actually, I think that's kind of like a vibe for Wild Rift in general. in terms of tactical capabilities in this game, like what you can achieve, and we're going to look at the replay here, but it was kind of just a beautiful roam coming out from the Aurelion Sol. I think the only thing to really pay attention to is just how beautiful this Brawl ultimate was, because that essentially completely won the fight for them. But Tej, I think what I'm learning from Wild Rift and watching a lot of competitive is that there aren't many I would say alternative tactics other than just draft an insane team fight. And speaking of another team fight, we've got one going on here. Oh, they get the cannon down super early though.
Big pickup. Tamerlapse kiting back will finally be able to cast the bullet time, and it shreds Harry, who will go down incredibly low. I don't believe they actually died though, so Tamerlapse and the rest of Omega need to back away, but they don't get the kills. It's TFTP into chase. Impressive. There as well. We'll find one, but dives into a 1v4 and goes down immediately after, and now there's no jungler up, so there won't be any further progress.
No objectives left on the map to even worry about though here, Tej. So I think we can chill on that respect.
Who
But it was a good
Herald, then? Was that successfully snagged by Bigatron in the middle of all that?
I can't see. We'd have to, if the scoreboard stayed open for longer than 1 second, I'd be able to see. Let's just play a game of Rift Herald Roulette. We'll just have to find out who.
Probably. I'm gonna say Bigatron picked up the Rift Herald given the positioning, and if I'm wrong, you can fire me, scoundrel.
Okay, cool. I don't disagree with you though. I think it probably was Bigatron given the positioning, but I will fire you anyway if it is not the case.
He's got Ignite ready to go. That was a very big team fight, and we're starting to see the organization of it, as we highlighted in the last game, where it was all about the Orianna. This time, it's the Misfortune versus Cannon paradigm. Either Tamerlapse or Astronomia goes down early in the fight, and
what?
You didn't like
Sorry,
it?
I'd like you to repronounce that exactly the same way
that was a
that you just
one-time
did.
trick. I only had one of those in me.
As
one of them goes down early in the
yeah,
fight,
love it.
Or
love
lands the
love
sick
it.
ulti.
It was Bigatron, by the way. They did pick it up.
Job saved. Rift Herald will collide with the turret. That is going to be probably a turret and a half down here in the mid lane. We'll see if Bigatron want to get more ambitious than that. No, doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, again, you know when you look at compositions, and then we did it previously, I'm thinking, how do... Oh, that's an Aurelion Sol engage. How do Omega actually win this? Maybe the picks? Oh my goodness.
Slicing Maelstrom. That is beautiful. Astronomia will be knocked out of the fight, but the damage is already done. Huge stuns across the board. And Bigatron have won themselves another clean team fighting scoundrel.
Yeah, and they're chasing down the Shyvana. The Shyvana's chasing down. Double kill coming through. Garen's still alive, as is the Lee Sin.
Shouldn't get too much more dicey than this. We will lose our heroic cannon, who shall not be named. Very good turret aggro management, actually, there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the GA, you're seeing just how ridiculously OP that item is for 2,400 gold. It's way too cheap for what it is in this game, and it will be getting nerfed relatively soon. Everybody buying GAs left, right, and center. And again, like you said, lovely engage from the Kennen, getting a great ultimate off. And also, more importantly, because they're playing with a Shyvana, this has allowed them to essentially secure the Drake for free. Although I say that, it looks like they gave it up. Teleport's coming through. Yeah. It really, really feels like Omega want to force this one out. And Shyvana may have just given away a Drake, which is not a good thing when you're playing a Shyvana.
I need you to take a swing at this Kennen name. Because I don't know if you know this. This is the first time we've ever cast together. I'm literally dyslexic, so I have no clue.
Well, look, I'm not going to lie, mate. I'm not dyslexic, and I'm not sure it's going to be much better than what you were able to do.
It doesn't help.
Add to Camilla. There you go.
Wow. I think it's just the confidence in the accent. Anything a scoundrel says sounds legit. I don't believe you.
I would love to know how you're actually supposed to pronounce that.
Baron is up. It's a DDR combo. That's what it is. Baron is up, and it will be taken quite easily by Bigatron. I don't even think there's going to be a contest here from Omega. They are trying to get in now, but Harry is doing a great job zoning them off, and this actually could turn real bad. The dive into the backlines will be shut down by a Slicing Maelstrom Wombo combo. And we're going to lose the lone Omega Alistair, who tried to make that play happen.
Yeah, you're going into what I think is probably a Shyvana plus Leandri's Aurelion Soul. Like that Baron's going to die quickly, and you saw it die incredibly quickly there as well. Yeah, that was brilliant play. You saw the TF turn, you saw the TF appear top, and obviously with the TF ultimate having a limited range, yes, he could definitely get to the fight, but probably not in time to have any kind of genuine impact. Really decisive play coming out from Bigatron here, and actually they've put the pressure on. Their composition just works better in these sort of 5v5 engages, and we've been seeing that throughout this game.
We're back on Timelapse here. I'm winging it with that name as well, but I feel a little more confident as they take onto the Omega side. We theorized quite early into our first game. When the game was over, we thought Bigatron were completely out of it. Do you think we're in a similar state here, or is there still hope for Omega?
No, the problem is that the apart from Twisted Fate, the scaling kind of favors Bigatron. Massively so with the Aurelion Soul, but also the rest of their comp scales really well. I feel like we're past the point in the game where the strength of the Omega roster can actually be worked out here. Plus the Baron, like you haven't got any genuine wave clear versus these Baron minions. Like Twisted Fate can only do so much, and Misfortune can only do so much. So yeah, I think this game, I'm probably looking towards a third already here, TJ. Something would have to go awfully wrong in a team fight.
You know what? The fact that the first Wild Rift game I've ever casted is going to Game 3, we take that as a win. Here is Bigatron. We've swapped to their POV, and they're going in for the final push. Turret under threat, the inhibitor turret, and the slicing Maelstrom absolutely demolishes the team fight yet again, but Bigatron aren't able to dive further forward because the bullet time from Timelapse completely stymies their advance. So they'll get the turret and nothing more.
They got what they came for, though, but the engage might not be over. Twisted Fate looking for an opportunity. They grouped up. I like this. Just trying to stop that Twisted Fate from getting anything out of this this engage. But they got what they came for. They went for the inhibitor turret, and it was down. They didn't lose any lives. They didn't lose any GAs. That's a successful team fight if you're Omega.
Still seeing really good play from Timelapse, the AD carry over there for Omega. You can see Omega hover at the very back of this fight, and then he unleashes the bullet time that just cancels the play. They still lose the turret. It's still real bad for Omega, but you're stopping the bleeding. You're putting gauze on the wound.
It wasn't as bad as it could have been. Is, I guess, the way that I'm looking at that fight. But again, slicing Maelstrom up in 10 seconds. We have another fight around the dragon opening up with Shyvana obviously wanting to secure these dragons. Looks like they... Oh, wait, are we getting a potential... I mean, are they just all teleporting bot to go for a bot lane inhibitor here? It looks like that's the case.
Yeah. Bigatron.
Wait.
Had quite enough of the. Sorry, Omega have quite enough of this game. It's all on our heroic cannon, whose battery's running out. I warned you about this. It only got 10% battery left. If we go to Game 3, it'll be big trouble for Omega. That's going to be a deep dive in. Bigatron trying to start the fight. We'll be able to find an Alistair, and the rest of this cleanup should be good. Harry's already in the river. Bigatron are going to be able to punish this attempted backdoor quite easily. Omega lose 3 of their players already, and that maybe should be game.
It's close to, at the very least. It was a Hail Mary play from Omega to go for the potential either base race or take an inhibitor turret. They were not set up perfectly for it. They didn't exactly have the quickest push in the world. It looks like it's going to be going for game, though. Good
bullet time. We'll zone things back. And actually, we lose our heroic cannon here, but Control's just ordering the Nexus. And that will mean it's tied up, Scoundrel. 1-1, and we critically have time for this cannon to charge his phone battery.
Oh, absolutely. He needs to. He's at 10%.
He better have like fast charging or something.
Dangerous territory right now here, TJ. But yeah, I think what's important to know about this game, again, it was teamfight difference, like really just compositionally. I didn't really see an actual inroad for Omega to get into this game without just winning lane really hard. Like I love the way they executed the lane swap, but this time we actually saw a cross-map trade, which was the most important thing that Bigatron could have done in this scenario. Instead of committing the Alistair into a useless lane swap with an Olaf, they actually went for the cross-map trade, like you mentioned on the first turret, that allowed them to keep pace in the game. They didn't get too far behind. And then when it came to the team fights, you saw it with the slicing Maelstrom. They just get trumped in the 5v5s. And when you fight for dragons so early on in the game, the 5v5s are so important. Like, you need to have a coherent team fight, and Bigatron just didn't.
I was really impressed by Henry as well, the mid laner for Bigatron, who was able to constantly arrive in these fights with massive stuns as an initiator, which is slightly different than the role that Aurelion Sol plays in PC League of Legends right now. So I like seeing peak A Sol play yet again.
I think we got Dave on the line, ready to bring him back in here.
Ring, producer Dave.
Yes, sir. Welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed. Again, that's going to be the first 3-game series of the entire Wild Rift Asia Brawl. I'm actually excited. You know, I can't believe... Go ahead.
Do you know how many Game 3s you've cast in Wild Rift so far? Because I know you've been doing some weekly tournaments.
This is the second one. The last tournament that we hosted, the C Invitational, we had like 2-0 stomp all the way to Grand Finals. And even the Grand Finals, it was like the other side only won one more game, and then it was still, I think, kind of like a stomp. So today, already shown the difference, you know, in level of the team play, the gameplay. By the way, I just want to let everyone know, all the teams who had the chance to qualify for the open qualifier, we required all the players to be diamond and above minimum for Season 0. So this time, it's going to be a lot more organized, and you see the team fights, obviously they play a lot more, you know, together, and the teams adjusted the enemy's opposition strategy really quickly, and you will see a lot of that throughout the entire group stage.
Yeah, I think I can already tell... both of us, obviously, Xscoundrel has far more experience than me, but we both come from casting pretty cool high-level League of Legends, and being able to see already some of those same tactics being applied to MOBAs. I cast mobile MOBAs for like years, and I didn't see team fights that were that good. Yeah. So I'm already excited and impressed by what I'm seeing here.
I mean, Game 3 now. Any predictions for two of you?
Bigatron all the way.
I think. Do you think Bigatron? Yeah,
that was really.
I think I don't know which team to predict, because both of them have looked good. It's going to come down to draft. I'll be able to make a better decision when it comes down to draft. From what I've seen, though, it's just the better team fight comp wins. Like, so I'm going to have a look at the comps, see which one functions better in a team fight scenario, and say kind of put my money on whichever one does from that point onwards. But the kind of the attempted 1-3-1 or the attempted pick compositions that we're seeing aren't really working out. And I think the mistake that Bigatron made in that game is, if you're running with a Twisted Fate Misfortune and you're going into a Kennen, don't fight for first dragon. Utilize what you do have an advantage in, which is split pushing. Like, send your TF to the other side of the map to get turrets, and then just back away, give up that first dragon if you have to, and then try and execute on them. You know, execute your advantage on the map elsewhere.
True. I think also they ran themselves, you know, into a corner there, because the enemy does have Shyvana, and they really don't want to give that up to Shyvana. You know, so I think that's why they were rushing it.
I agree. But it's not the end of the world, though, right?
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. Like, if you lose one.
Yeah, it's definitely not. Especially Shyvana. I think the dragon are really going to make a difference. In my opinion, is the Infernal Dragon. It's good for the entire team. And it's obviously for Shyvana, it makes her E into true damage, which is insane in team fights. But obviously, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the previous 2 games. And we're going to, again, take a short break while we get both teams ready and get Game 3 ready. If you're watching the stream, this tournament is brought to you by Trovo.live. Trovo.live is going to be the place where you want to watch all the tournaments for the Wild Rift Asia Brawl. Now, Trovo.live is Wild Rift official partner, and Trovo is also hosting a variety of tournaments, events for League of Legends Wild Rift, with a bunch of prizes for you to claim, including 30,000 Wild Core giveaway throughout the entire tournament. So make sure to use the link in the chat, guys. To head to Trovo.live, do not hesitate. You know, do not feel excited to go to Trovo. So with that, guys, I'm going to take a short break. I will see you guys in 5 minutes. right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans and pets, welcome back to the 2021 World Rift Asia Brawl. Once again, I am your caster, host, AssassinDave. With me is our beautiful, sexy, handsome...
Yeah! We did it! We're sexy now, Scoundrel!
Yes.
I know, we got upgraded.
Caster of the day, TJ, as well as Alexandro. Make sure to go ahead and follow them. While they're casting the game, they can also be active in the chat, so feel free to interact with them, ask them questions, and then we're watching now Game 3 between Omega and Bigatron, which is a really, really exciting match. We're coming to Game 3 in the best out of 3 series. This is Group Stage, Day 1, Match 1, and Game 3. The previous 2 games have been 1-1 to each side. So Game 3, what do you guys expect for both teams?
A sick game. I'm gonna double down on what Scoundrel said earlier. I think a lot of these games are coming down to the draft, so I'll let him, as the smarter of the two of us, break that down. But I am leaning towards Bigatron because I think their individual play looked really good across both games, and they were able to clean up their macro in Game 2.
Yeah, I think, again, it's going to come very much down to the draft. It will be kind of like... What I'm noticing is that first Drake fights especially seem to be especially impactful. But I think, you know, right now, both of these teams have excelled at executing on team fights. So I'm expecting both teams to draft towards that. Obviously, with the Orianna, she's like the absolute queen. I was about to say king, but, you know, she's a woman. The absolute queen of the mid lane team fighting mages. So her being off the table means you're going to have a bit more breathing room in terms of what you can pick in that role. But yeah, I'm going to reserve my judgment, Tej, until I see the draft.
I need a short name for you. If I'm Tej, I need a short name for Scoundrel.
Everyone calls me X. They just call me X.
And also we have...
You...
All right,
sorry.
X. And sorry for the interruption. Oh, we also have the bans for Game 3 already coming in. The third game, we are going to have a Bigatron first pick now. And then they banned... The first pick, first ban. They banned Orianna and Evelyn, where the opposition Omega banned Gragas and Akali. What do you guys think about that?
It's par for the course, I think. It's pretty much the same bans we've seen all game. The only change is that Orianna was switched out in Game 2 instead of Braum. So I think both of these bans seem to work well for the teams. I fully agree with Evelyn and Gragas. They're two incredibly strong picks right now. Akali is probably personal preference, even though I think she's strong. I just don't think she's like... I think she's very user-dependent. Someone like Dave would say Akali is busted because he's incredibly good with Akali, but not everybody is incredibly good with Akali, and I think she's quite difficult to execute on sometimes. So,
well, Dave has a YouTube thumbnail, I guarantee it, that says Akali is busted.
No, that's actually not how I clickbait. But you know, yes, that sounds like a pretty tempting idea. The third game pick is already underway. Before we get into the picks, guys, I do want to do a big shout out to our sponsor of the tournament. If you're watching the stream, this entire tournament is brought to you by Trovo.live. Trovo is World Rift official partner, and they're hosting a variety of tournaments, including this one, World Rift Asia Brawl. Events for League of Legends World Rift. And if you want to win some giveaways, 30,000 WoW core of them, make sure to use the link in the chat right now to head to Trovo.live. And then big shout out to the tournament organizer, WRC. World Rift Competitive is a central place for all things competitive. They host weekly tournaments for the community, so use the social links to follow them. With that, let's quickly jump into our third game ban pick right away.
My YouTube clickbait says... this esports event host is busted, and then it's a picture of AssassinDave.
Well, that's what I'm going to do on my next video then. So there you go.
Oh my god, you actually have the platform to do it. I'll be chasing after it.
By the way,
however, you did.
3.
We're going to be seeing Omega's perspective. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything here standing out to you as we get into this Game 3?
Okay, Kennen obviously sets up team fights by himself. I mean, so essentially he kind of makes a team fight composition in his own right. I think without Kennen, I would have been massively favoring Bigatron here, but with Kennen being on Omega, I think things are a little more even. The only problem is you're lacking a little bit of damage until Kai'Sa comes online later on, whereas the damage from Bigatron is going to be ready to go pretty much off the bat. So I think it's going to be very Kennen reliant here. If Kennen doesn't do well or Kennen doesn't get a good first team fight off, I am scared for Omega. But for Bigatron, They've got the Aurelion Soul. If he gets Rylized, combine that with the Misfortunes bullet time, looking pretty spicy.
When I say a word, it goes from San Francisco, California, to Korea, where Dave is, and then back to the UK, where Excoundrel is. So if you're wondering why we're talking over each other occasionally, there are a solid, 5 seconds between the end of me saying something and Excoundrel hearing the last word.
Yeah, it's there is a rather large delay. Oh, wow, we got a very aggressive invade here.
I love it. Table Lapse gets out of there real quick. Here's the boss music and backs away. Here is that from the opposite perspective. Bigatron on their screens, running in real aggressive, and then because they didn't instantly find anything, disengaging to a standard start. Was that the only point of it, just to see if they could find a pick?
I think they were just looking to go for a red side invade if no one was there, but it looks like we've got a double lane swap. It looks like either Bigatron or Omega read the lane swap, and we have executed a complete reversal of the map.
This is just normal again.
This is just normal again, except for the dragon lane is the furthest away from the dragon lane. The interesting thing for me here, though, is that it's Kennen mid. Something that we were. Oh, wait a second. Oh. The early Garen roam, baby.
It is an early Garen roam, as you say, leaving this Olaf all alone in lane, and First Blood passed over to Bigatron.
I mean,
Omega.
I mean, you absolutely take it because you put the Kennen into a pretty solid position, and a Kennen versus an Aurelion Soul, you're never going to clear those waves as quickly as an Aurelion Soul will. Even if Aurelion Soul gets ganked, he's already pushing Kennen back to the turret. This is one of the worries that we had when Kennen was released. Even though it makes sense from an ultimate perspective and a roam perspective to have Kennen in mid, the meta for mid laners generally tends to be high wave clear. Just the ability to push waves and like Evelyn, she's too busted at it, right? So she'll just clear a wave and roam, clear a wave and roam. The problem that you'll find, I think we just skipped forward just a little bit here because Aurelion Sol is dead again.
Yeah, we just lost the mid laner again.
Yeah. This is good. This is what you want.
Bigatron's mid laner, Henry, who did look so good on that Aurelion Sol during game number 2, already having a very rough time of it here. That was a 3-man gank, I believe, with the Lee Sin yet again being piloted by Impressive, reappearing into that mid lane.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you have to be aware of, and one of the things that especially in competitive play, or if you're in like duo, trio queue, for instance, I mean, this is
happening again.
It's happening again.
It's such a bad time.
He's having an
Harry will
awful
go down
time.
again. That's going to get worse as the support falls both Henry and Harry down in the mid lane for Bigatron. Omega building out a 4-0 lead in the kill feed during the first 2 minutes and 50 seconds of gameplay.
And Kennen has an absolute metric ton of that gold as well, which is insane because that first dragon fight, the one that Shyvana really wants to win, is going to be quite difficult now. It's going to be very difficult, especially if Slicing Maelstrom is coming off cooldown by the time that dragon fight comes through. One of the things that I wanted to talk about with this Aurelion Sol Kennen matchup, and one of the things that you have to be aware of as a mid laner in general, is that if you're playing in the mid lane and you're a heavy wave pusher, so you're going to shove those waves massively, you're going to end up at the enemy turret quickly, you are going to open yourselves to ganks. As we know, from this game, we've seen it already. And that's one of the problems that Aurelion Sol will have versus a high mobility jungler and the roam potential coming out from Omega here. If Aurelion Sol just pushes this Kennen in, Kennen has got self-realizing crowd control. Like, he could just do it himself, and then he just needs the jungler to come in and help. And that's what's been happening. Aurelion Sol is relatively low mobility. Obviously, he's got his massive roam, but that's not really good in the lane. So if Kennen could just land a stun. Exactly. If Kennen could just land a stun, you get a very easy follow-up from Lee Sin, and Aurelion Sol is a sitting duck, and that's what we've seen in the laning phase thus far.
And so watch Arise as we go forward. Arise is the mid laner for Omega, because they are playing a duelist champion, which has worked great with the gank pressure in that mid lane. And now as we get to team fights, you're going to start to see the team fight potential of Kennen. And I believe we may be getting an example right now as a skirmish develops around this drake.
Yeah, I think you can see 10 maps just waiting to clear that wave out, but it is that first dragon in the game. If Kennen can find an ultimate, that is what we're looking for. Keep your eyes on Arise. He is going to be the difference maker in this fight.
Timelapse hovering over the wall as Arise goes in behind them. And it looks like Bigatron are uncomfortable, and rightly so. Impressive will dive in. Glacial Fissure starts things off. There is the Slicing Maelstrom. Not a whole lot of damage felt. All of Bigatron low, though. They'll be trying to make the turn off the back of this Shyvana, re-emerging from the jungle. But Impressive is just cleaning them up again. Control needs to find a 1v2, essentially. And Smart will put an end to that. A big team fight win there for Omega, but Bigatron, to their credit, make it close.
Right, so it's a complete, I think, 4 for 4 across the board here. But importantly, they did get Shyvana's Guardian Angel. People buy that, to have the team fight win here. We're going to get a quick replay. Really, really beautiful knockup from the Alistair because it delayed the engage from the Kennen, and that meant that they were able to focus down the Kai'Sa much more readily and much more quickly than they would have been able to previously. Obviously, Shyvana's GA, you're seeing why GA is such an important item in the meta in Wild Rift. These early team fight wins are absolutely important, and that allowed them to go 4 for 4 overall. But it looks like, off the back of that, we have another little pickup here onto the Alistair, and they're going to go straight for the Dragon.
Yeah, Bigatron with an excellent display of team fighting, and I would like to apologize I didn't catch that GA on the Shyvana. But excellent display of team fighting by Bigatron to make that trade even. And then they lose the Drake anyway, because a couple of picks go to Omega immediately off of the respawns. And so the first Drake of the game will be in Omega's pocket.
Yeah, you're seeing the power of Kennen as well. Like the team fight comp for Omega isn't exactly like stellar in its own right, but Kennen makes it stellar just by himself because that Slicing Maelstrom is so strong. Timelapse is not concerned with what's going on by the Rift Herald. He is much more concerned with funneling gold into his pocket through farming and maybe trying to take a couple of plates here. I don't know if anyone's even going to turn up to this top lane turret right now. It looks like pretty much everybody for Bigatron.
He's just a plate farmer. He and his family have collected pottery for years, Excandrel. We'll swap to the Bigatron POV, as they are indeed leaving that poor plate farmer up there in the top lane to build their crockery cabinet. And in the meantime, Bigatron are collecting some plates of their own. That will be a turret trade during the early game, but first turret does go over towards Bigatron.
Exactly. Important pickup here. Nice little bit of gold input. Though I would say that Kai'Sa got all of that gold by herself, so the plates all went directly to her. So that's a lot of gold on a hyper-scaling AD carry, which is good because you're going to need that follow-up damage as the game progresses. Most of your damage will fall off if you are Omega. Kennen has got a lot of damage, but it isn't exactly something that hyper-scales into the late game. Oh, in the mid lane, I think Aurelion Sol's caught out again.
Yeah, big Slicing Maelstrom does shut down Henry again. We've been following that matchup as... Turns out Kennen is a hard counter to Aurelion Sol, which isn't something I knew about League of Legends before today.
I would say, in a vacuum, if you have a Lee Sin jungle that's willing to gank you every 5 minutes, or rather,
that might have something to do with it, is what you're saying?
Exactly, every 45 seconds, then yes, because the hard CC is obviously incredibly good. But I think overall, Aurelion Sol should be able to manage a Kennen by himself, at least pre-5 especially. Obviously, if Kennen flash ults you, then you're in a bit of a spot of a bother. But I think overall, I think the real reason that the Kennen's winning so hard is just how much jungle attention he got from his Lee Sin in the early game.
And JLC as well, who roamed down on the Garen very early on. Rift Herald will be summoned here. That's going to be thrown down in the mid lane for Bigatron. They're going to get at least one turret for that.
I think they're going to get 2, dude. I think they are going to get 2. I mean, the backs were coming through, but there's already a lot of pressure in that tier 2 turret in the mid lane.
Yeah, and we don't have the camera on it. We have to watch from player POVs, and we don't have the player POV of that mid lane fight. So we'll just hope we get the pan over. As it does look like so far, Bigatron have lost their initial engage. That's a dive in. Henry still down. A deep flank here from our top lane, Olaf, trying to save the day with control down. There's simply no way Bigatron come out of this, right? Flash over the wall. JLC will chase down the top lane matchup in the meantime. You can see that Misfortune cleaning up the fight in the back lines. One revive will be there, but Bigatron lose out. Omega able to fight back after losing their turret.
Yeah, they went heavy on the engage there. Didn't want to lose that tier 2. Aurelion Sol still up. Has a huge stun to work with. That's oh my word, impressive. That was a risky little play to go for those fruits, but they get out nonetheless. And right now, it is Omega in control. We can take a quick look at the perspective of the Olaf here, just at the back of that fight. We already had the engage from Kennen, who does get blown up by that Olaf. But more importantly, at this point, the flank from the Garen comes through. He takes out the Shyvana with the ultimate, which is great because Shyvana is a great duelist in these smaller skirmishes. So her being off the board is a huge loss for Bigatron in general. And at this point, it was just cleanup duty. Not much else to break down. There were a couple of members that had the GAs to burn, and they were able to do so.
Bigatron, I'm sure a little disappointed about that, but given the kill feed, given what should be the gold lead at this point, Bigatron are punching above their weight class. Here Omega trying for a Drake. They will be interrupted. This is Bigatron coming in. Drake already over to Omega, but a huge team fight start as the Shyvana just detonates the back line, and Bigatron may have found their path back into the game. Impressive will out duel 1, but Control, fresh off picking up 2 kills, he's roaming for more.
They're just trying to regen a bit of HP here with the safeguard and the heal that comes from that, and obviously JLC trying to get out of combat for the time being. They've got him, though. They've got him down.
Nicely done. That's probably all we get with Brawl in the area. But huge for Bigatron. They may be about to turn this game right back over. They don't get the Drake, sure, but they win an absolutely critical team fight off the back of Control's Shyvana play.
Yeah, I think the Drake would have been the more important objective. I think at this point, if you're Omega, you have the scaling of the Kai'Sa. The one thing that I have to give credit for, though, that the Alistair from Bigatron is playing out of his mind this game. That engage from Ali, where he caught both the Kennen and the Kai'Sa in a single headbutt pulverized combo that then went into the Shyvana transform. Obviously, then the fire breath on the floor. That was disgusting. And if Kennen dies, you see exactly. And if you see Kennen die early before he can either get a good flank or a good ultimate off, Omega's team fight falls apart, and you saw it just there. There is nothing left in the bank. If you lose the Kennen without slicing Maelstrom, there is nothing left in the bank for Omega. So they have to be so careful about where they're positioning with the Kennen.
Just a really, really solid fight from Bigatron, and we've seen that across this entire game. I don't think there's been a moment, maybe you'll disagree with me, where Omega haven't been in the lead, but Bigatron have consistently been able to drive these team fights close.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think Omega have been in control for the majority of the game. It looks like that's slightly turning on its head right now.
Bigatron back in it now.
Yeah, but again, it's going to come down to these next few fights, especially the fight around the Baron here. You know, if Kennen can get a good ultimate off, Kennen can make that happen, then obviously we're going to be a little worried. But right now, the lane pressure is well in favor of Bigatron. They have top lane pushing in. Olaf is heavily split pushing, as you can see right now, just pushing these waves over and over again, trying to keep Garen stuck in this lane, and he's going to potentially even take a turret here. So every lane is shoved in for Bigatron at this point in time, and that is allowing them to get complete control of this area in the river around the Baron.
Around the Baron, there is some action happening. I do want to have an important analysis question for you. As Dakut Medaldor was the Kennen in the last game, who is at 10% battery. We do still see that red bar. How much battery do you think he has right now?
Oh, 12% maybe. It's definitely under 15. It's definitely under 15.
It's real rough. They got to speed run this game. If we go too long, they're going to lose their Olaf. We did see during the skirmish that was happening up there by the Baron, both teams interested in it. Omega definitely trying to force a fight there, but scared to do so without their Olaf. We'll see how that develops.
I mean, I'm loving this from Bigatron. They're just continuing to put the pressure on. The problem that I think that Omega have is that they haven't really got a consistent way to force a fight other than a flash Kennen ult. Like there's no other way to force an engage other than just flash Kennen ult. So if you're Bigatron, you can just sit here pushing these side lanes and look at this.
That's what they're doing.
He's going to get the inhibitor turret.
Shoving the inhibitor turret simultaneously. We'll see if the turret itself goes down. Big silence, and yeah, no contest. Now, can he get away with it? He may even threaten JLC's life. A deep dive in, JLC's got to back away. This Olaf is unstoppable. He's got battery to save. Got to make plays happen. In the meantime, there is a fight developing here in the mid lane. It will be Bigatron trying to force a little bit more aggression here in the bullet time. Arcs over the wall. absolutely shredding the opposing members. A
Oh,
beautiful
no.
team fight yet again for Bigatron. And JLC, off the dive back into his fountain, is going to need to try and turn this. You see, instantly melted in the front lines. Henry backing away, kiting away, has control to back him up. This Shyvana will detonate impressive off of the respawn from his GA. And this is another big win for Bigatron. They get a turret and a massive team fight to boot, and that opens up this Drake.
Oh my word, Bigatron have somehow brought themselves back into the game here. I actually don't know why Garen didn't commit to the GA pop of Lee Sin there. I think he was healthy enough to just run in and either spin or distract someone and allow Lee Sin to potentially take the fight in their favor, but that you're seeing the problem with the comp from Omega right now is that if they can't flash Kennen ult, they have no way of forcing the fight, and therefore Olaf was able to split push for free. And obviously they knew that they couldn't just go like and force Baron because that's risky versus an Aurelion Soul. And I've got to give credit to Asda Kimila, that guy. I've got to give credit to the Olaf because he knew exactly the limits that he could play with, and they knew that with the Aurelion Soul, you can't do Baron versus an Aurelion Soul. You can't force it because Aurelion Soul just build up a huge stun and stun your entire team on the Baron pit, and then the Baron will do the work for the enemy team. So that was a really lovely play from Bigatron. They're playing great macro here.
You know what is actually great synergy with this Olaf? Charging cable. We'll see if that develops as we get into the second half of this game, and I'm a little bit worried that we might not end this game in time.
I don't know, the scaling of the Aurelion Soul, the scaling of Shyvana and Aurelion Soul is starting to look pretty spicy. So, as I said, I think the scaling is in favor in Bigatron. The longer this game goes, the better it is for Bigatron overall. And you can see that Olaf now pushing that side lane. He's going to start to twist the knife. And is this going to force the hand of Omega? Like, are they going to have to force another fight? Kennen looks like he's going for it in the blue side jungle. Brawl, it's all the way in there. Gosh,
and
it's crazy across the map.
JLC flash to chase. They're just dead. They're just going to be dropped into GA. There's no question about it. The fight all the way up top does seem to be developing in favor of Bigatron. We don't have the POV on it. But they're doing so far so good. You can see all of their members still alive, kiting back around the fight. Impressive will be able to come out on top of the early trading on that devastating Lee Sin, but even they are shut down. And here is the split push this entire time from Astronomia as they need to get themselves out of this game within the next 10 minutes. TPs to back them up. Dropped down. We'll have a deep dive from Harry on Alistair with control to back him up. That should be a stun and a kill underneath the Nexus. But no, JLC is able to get away, and Harry has to flash. They're not going to be able to end this game yet for Bigatron.
Oh, a double teleport. Did they sell their boots to go for teleport boots in that scenario to try and make the Hail Mary end play? Like, that was I mean, I don't think he needed to. Like, I don't know if that was necessary. Like, I get the idea. Like, I totally get the idea here, TJ. Like,
it's an easy win, right?
But the Olaf was going to die because the Garen definitely hadn't used his ultimate. Like, there was no GA for the Olaf. Unless Olaf's GA. Oh, Olaf's GA. Look how close it is to popping. Oh, I think that was it. I think he was so close to having the GA pop back for him that he was like, I can hold it. Just teleport. I've got GA. But he died before the GA was able to come back online. Look, it's just come back online on the replay. Look how close that GA was to coming back to Olaf. Oh, my word.
Thank you very much to producer Dave for the sick replies. We do have ourselves a Baron developing now. Turn up the volume because we're turning up the action. Right here in the middle of the fight, it is going to be Bigatron trying to dive on in. Already Omega with control of the pit itself, managing to find some big turns from JLC, and Control just can't find the targets for their Shyvana, as this actually looks real good for Omega. After losing the entire mid-game, they found a very important turn, and sure, that GA's back up now, but the Olaf needs to go huge, and it's simply not possible. There's dudes arriving a little late to zone off Omega, so no Baron will be taken. But it is a team fight win too.
It's a win. It's a win for Bigatron. They came out at man advantage in that team fight. Yeah, no, like it's 3-2 overall. Like they have 3 members left alive. They've killed 3. It's a man advantage for Bigatron right now, which is absolutely insane. But classic schoolboy error versus an Olaf. Look how close Kaiser gets to the Olaf when he comes out of. Doesn't need to be that close. There's no way that you need to be that close.
Melee range this Olaf. What could go wrong?
And Olaf has true damage on his third ability. Like, he's just going to slap you in the head. that goes straight and for damage that goes straight through resistances. Like there was no need to be that close on the Kai'Sa. Your Garen could soak the damage for you, and you just need to press your first ability and execute him. I think this is just a
Oh dear.
yeah.
For the Drake, it does go over to Bigatron. The desperate attempt to steal it was captured there on the minimap, but Omega don't get it away. And yeah, I think O'Dear does rather sum it up. Bigatron, after a really rough early game, have brought this game 3 back in their favor. It's now down to this Baron fight. Bigatron started early, peel off when the contest comes through. Harry pushes forward. There will be a slicing Maelstrom into the back lines. Oh, good bullet time as well. That gets a little bit scary for Bigatron. But they've turned just fine with Dewey on the bullet time to clean up the front lines. And that will be Omega slaughtered yet again. Very likely game 3 into Bigatron's pocket.
Yeah, the team fight just too strong from Bigatron here. There's no way they lose this. They're going to take the series 2-1. Yeah, exactly.
I believe in JLC. He's in the top lane. He won't even be present. As the Nexus explodes, congratulations to Bigatron, taking the series 2-1 in our first BO3, going all 3 games.
Yeah, beautiful play. And again, there was definite advantages with the cannon in the early game, but as I said, the scaling really, I think, lied in favor of Bigatron. They were able to take the game a little bit longer than they should have done, realistically. And I think some of those mid-game team fights, I believe Omega will look back on them and say, well, how did we mess this up? Because, again, they made some pretty unfortunate macro errors, and some of these team fights just weren't played out the way I think they would have wanted them to. But massive credit to Bigatron. They played these beautifully, and especially the macro play from Olaf on that top lane to get the that bot lane to get the bot lane inhibitor turret. Really, really strong stuff from him.
And Dua had a really quiet early game, but as that went on, as we headed into the mid and late game, you started to see those big bullet times show up again and win team fights. And what turned game number 2 turns game 3 again. Bigatron out on top.
So, what exciting first best out of 3 series. The favor of Big Trunk Infinity. Once again, big shout out to them for taking the first point in the group stage of the Wild Rift Asia Brawl. Hope you guys enjoyed the cast. Make sure to follow our lovely TJ and our lovely ex-Chondro as well on social media. They're the caster of the day. They're bringing to you this exciting matches. And then obviously, we're going to the next best out of 3. And then due to our time restraints, we're going to try to get those games set up as fast as possible. The next players coming up, guys, is going to be Soul of Soy versus One Snap Esports. It's very, very exciting. If you're watching right now, and then if you want to stay tuned for the next game, we are going to be taking a break for a few minutes, and we're going to come back for the next best out of 3. Again, Soul of Soy versus One Snap Esports. Who is your favorite team between those two? Anyways, what do y'all think about, I mean, what do you guys think about the last best out of 3 series, TJ and Xandro? I mean, you think, what could Omega have done better? I mean, they were taking the lead in the game 3.
I think in that game specifically, you kind of saw the limitations of Garen as a Baron laner, especially versus an Olaf. Like, Olaf as a Baron laner, in my opinion, is completely top tier right now because of his ability to do exactly what you saw there. Like, he's got great team fight presence. He's got the ability to run down enemy carries with relative ease, ignoring all CC. He's got great split push. He can kind of do a bit of everything, and you can see why Garen kind of struggles in that regard. But they needed to snowball off those early game Kennen ultimates that they were getting. Like, that Kennen was like 4-0 or 3-0 at one point. Like, you should not be losing from that point. You need to get into these dragon fights. You need to dominate them, and you need to make the rotations happen in your favor. But I've got to be honest, Bigatron responded so incredibly well. They basically, every time something happened on the map, they responded elsewhere on the map, and they were able to keep that gold for the team relatively level, and they had the scaling advantage with the Aurelion Soul. So yeah, I think the problem was that they weren't able to capitalize on that huge Kennen lead that they generated in the mid lane.
Controls Shyvana team fights are my takeaway. Watching Shyvana just pop 2-3 players on the backline is a religious experience, and I need more of it.
I like your description of Shyvana. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and take a 10-minute break, guys. Make sure to get your popcorn, get your soda, get your stuff ready. Share the stream with your family, with your friends, with your fans. It was coming to the next best out of 3 of the night. With that, we'll see you guys in 10 minutes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans and pets, welcome back once again to the 2021 World Rift Asia Brawl. Brought to you by Trovo.live. If you're watching this, make sure to like, subscribe, turn the bell on, and share the stream with your friends, family, and fans of the two teams. We're stepping to the second match of the day. Soul of Soy is taking on their opponent, One Snap Esports. It's going to be a very, very exciting match. Again, this is Group 1. We're doing a single round-robin format, and they're going to play each other. All the teams in Group 1 is going to play each other one time, and one time only. You can see the current standing of the bracket. Bigatron did take 1 point away from Omega, so they're already ahead in the group. Obviously, it being the first match being played. Now, we're stepping to the second match. First game, Ben Pick. Before we get that started, I want to do a big shout-out to the sponsors. Trovo.live is the organization, is the streaming platform that's making all this tournament possible. If you're watching the stream, guys, Trovo.live, it's going to be the place you want to be. Trovo is hosting a variety of tournaments, events for League of Legends Wild Rift, with a bunch of prizes for you to claim, including 30,000 Wild Core giveaway throughout this tournament. So make sure to head to Trovo, because a lot of the weekly streams will be done on Trovo exclusively. Also, want to do a shout out to WRC. If you want to know anything competitive about Wild Rift, use a link in the social media links down below. So with that, I'm going to introduce our two beautiful casters, TJ as well as Excondrel. Take it away, guys.
We gotta go fast, because these two teams have come out of the draft phase real quick. You can see both rosters. I can tell you what the bans are, Excondrel. I can't tell you who banned them. Cannon, Lee Sin, Gragas, and Akali were all banned. Now tell me about the picks.
Okay, so we have on this side, we've got the Soy side. So yeah, we've got Soy and we got the Fiora in the top lane, something that we see a little bit more of. She's a very, very big lane bully. Her lunge range is much higher than the PC version, so when she uses her first ability, she can proc her vitals for relatively free. We've got a Lulu pickup with the Misfortune, a very oppressive lane. Shyvana in the jungle shouldn't get challenged as easily by a Evelynn. And specifically talking about the Evelynn, I love this adaptation. You can see the Lulu came into lane. I'm pretty sure she must have just thrown a Glitter Lance out here, because Evelynn has got an absolutely obnoxious level 1 lane clear. Look at what she's done. She's pushed that lane in. She's now walking into the jungle to try and challenge Shyvana. She's going to be a nuisance while Orianna is stuck under her wave. She's level 2 already onto the Shyvana here. And this is the disgusting mid lane Evelynn. Now Shyvana's out of the jungle, and it's going to be very difficult for her to get back in.
The early Raptor steal, essentially, from the PC version of League of Legends. It is time, as always, to have a slight disclaimer. We are watching from the perspective of F2Y. They are the only player who is streaming this game. We can't do anything about that because we don't have a spectator mode, so we're just going to be along for the ride. This is Soul of Soy's perspective. They are playing, of course, versus One Snap.
Yeah, we'll have to give. We have got another perspective, but it's much further behind, as you can see. So yeah, the other perspective is still in Champion Select. So we're going to stick to F2Y's perspective here, and we're going to just try and keep up with the game based on what we can see on the map. So sometimes when we're talking about things, I would direct our viewers to make sure they're looking at the mini map. Not only will it help you for your viewing experience, but it may even help you for your solo queue experience.
Yeah,
exactly. Just keeping your eye on that mini map. Again, we are looking to keep primarily tabs on where Evelynn is roaming. Her early game roams super impactful. She didn't quite get the kill onto Shyvana, so Shyvana was able to get into her blue side jungle, but I do think that the Wukong was able to push into the red side jungle and steal the red buff. So Shyvana losing out a little bit on her early jungle clear, all in part due to the fact that Evelynn is absolutely obnoxious in that mid lane at this point in time. F2Y taking a bit of a beating from this Camille right now.
I loaded into casting this tournament earlier today, and I think the first words you said on broadcast were, "Thank God they banned Evelynn." So we are now seeing what happens when the Evelynn isn't banned. A ton of pressure in that mid lane, and it's spiraling out of control as One Snap are able to control the entire side of the jungle near that Evelynn as well. And though it's not yet affected our bot lane for F2Y, it is going to begin to, as the rest of the map kind of collapses around them.
I mean, F2Y is just kind of getting poked out by this Camille regardless. So, I mean, the Evelynn likely is going to roam towards, especially with the Shyvana, the Evelyn's going to want to make sure she's controlling the dragon area. Oh, we've got a little bit of an engage here. There was a back that came out from F2Y, and we have not yet seen Camille go for a back at this point in time. So she looks like she will do now. Go and stock up on her own items, maybe work towards that Triforce, which is the item that both Fiora and Camille like to go for first. It is the biggest item spike that you can get for either of those two champions.
Speaking of exciting things happening at lanes, I don't know, that wasn't a great segue. I just wanted to point out that that was another back forced in the mid lane, as the Evelyn yet again was able to force that Orianna to back, stayed in lane during that time, picked up yet more minion advantage. That is disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, even if you have an Orianna who is traditionally, once you've got Lost Chapter, has pretty good lane shove and wave clear, it is nothing compared to how obnoxious hate spikes are, which is Evelyn's first ability, at just pushing waves for 0 mana cost. I'm actually really interested to see how they're going to end up nerfing lane Evelyn, but not absolutely nerfing jungle Evelyn. And I'm imagining it's they're going to increase the mana cost of hate spikes, or they're going to reduce its damage to minions specifically. That's my thought process for how you deal with that being Evelyn being so obnoxious.
We may have a fight breaking out here towards the top side. This is the first strike of the game, and F2Y has roamed all the way across the map as the bullet time rips through one snap. Soul of Snoy would like to get into this fight, but they'll be doing so with the Drake already picked up against them. Now Curtain Call comes through, and F2Y and the remaining players are just running for their life. This does not look good for Soul of Soy at all, as one snap have poked through, cleaned up the fight again, and F2Y just need to back away.
There's nothing they can do here. The Evelyn at this point in the game is just super strong. You have got a Jhin versus Misfortune matchup. So Misfortune is traditionally a lane bully, but Jhin is someone who can respond to her relatively easily in that laning phase. Plus, in these team fights, when Misfortune opens up bullet time, Jhin can just be way, way further away using his own ultimate Curtain Call to ensure that he's having a similar impact in the team fights that Misfortune is. And you saw it in that team fight right there. Again, really, really hard stuff to play against. Evelyn mid, I feel like it's an auto ban every game. And if you don't ban it, you're asking for something like this to happen, which is a little bit rough.
Yeah. So to reiterate, because I did mix them up just now, Soul of Soy are the players whose perspective we are watching. One snapper on the opposite side. F2Y for Soul of Soy. Well, flash behind the turret. This pressure does come through. I have to say, you know, if we could watch one perspective from this team, I think F2Y is relatively happy. We're on theirs. They're doing a decent job of holding against this pressure on their island of the top lane.
Yeah, the Baron lane, traditionally a very, I would say, low energy. No, not low. No, I'm trying to think of the word here, TJ. It's too early in the morning for me. I did not sleep the best. But it's generally a low kind of traffic lane. You don't generally tend to see much traffic through the Baron lane. It's either a 1v1, a bit of an island. The only time you might see much traffic is when this Rift Herald is sort of kind of like being thought of. We have a potential engage happening here, though. I think
this will be a very big win for Soul of Soy if they can get it. Kind of brings them back into this.
I don't know. They lost the Misfortune in the top. They lost the Misfortune in their Baron lane, and they lost the first turret of the game. So even though that felt like a win, all Rift Herald is going to get you is a turret, right? And often you want it to break open the first turret of the game. Well, if you've already lost the first turret of the game, then Rift Herald becomes a little bit of a mute objective. Like it doesn't offer you anything more than you would have already got by just pushing a tower in your own right. So yeah.
We do have one snap's POV now. You are watching it. Oh my lord. What were we typing? Lulu Ignite or Flash was burned. We got comms here, ladies and gentlemen.
He is tracking summoner spells. What an absolute lad! This is the MVP. The MVP. Oh, my dogs have just. The postman has just come.
They're excited because we're tracking summoner spells.
Exactly, and also the postman has come, and they really love barking at the postman.
Maybe that as well. So one Snap Esports with a dominant lead in this early game. There is still that Rift Herald unaccounted for. So we could see good old Sheldon taking down a turret or two, but failing a pretty spectacular play through it, I think this is going to be a firm early game lead for one Snap.
Yeah, one snap looking very good so far. Again, with the take of the dragon. Dragon being set up now as well for the second round. Again, you deny dragons from Shyvana. That is an absolutely imperative. She gets too many good bonuses, especially the Infernal, as Dave talked about, being one of the most impactful dragons that you can take for Shyvana, giving her that true damage in her dragon form. But I actually think that right now, one snap are just in a really strong perspective. We're going back over to Soy here. F2Y, I think it's just dead.
Did get the wild growth to try and, survive the Fiora through it, but you don't really outrun a Camille, and Chami will pick up the kill eventually. As we swip back over to Soul of Soy's POV, and they are able to get a little bit back on that top side. They're also attempting for this Drake in the meantime. You can see Bonafortuna pushing around the side, while the rest of the team focuses in on the Drake and the split lane simultaneously. A deep dive in. That's actually disastrous. Salik goes too far forward, knocked into GA, and the jungler is going to be in perilous position as the GA wears off. They'll go into stasis from stopwatch instantly, but be picked up around the side. It's a massive team fight win here, and F2Y for Soul of Soy can't do anything to prevent it.
Oh my god, they couldn't even get the Evelyn. That is absolutely heartbreaking for Soy, and it is going to be one snap that just continues to pressure out here. That was yeah, I didn't really see that fight going any other way, to be honest with you, TJ. There was too many advantages built up by the Evelyn. They'd lost too many objectives on the map right now. None of the lanes were doing particularly well for Soy, and yeah, I feel like this was just the inevitable outcome, just based on how this early game has gone.
One snap. We're back watching. Did you ever play Terraria? I feel like you're old enough. It should have been in your
Terraria. Yeah.
Yeah.
I played a good amount of it.
Well, there's definitely the Zoomers don't know what Terraria is, so maybe this is bad audience to make this joke. But anyway, we're back watching some Terraria gameplay as we pick up the one snap POV. The Cubs! Oh, I don't actually know what this is.
Powered by
he's
smart
complaining
data
about his internet.
He's complaining about his ping in the middle of the
game. Great Cubs.
Oh, what a lad. This is the gameplay that I like to see. But it doesn't matter. He's still 205 on 100. Yeah. Exactly, 205 on 130 MS. We can't complain about that.
You're not going to get a sponsorship if you flame your internet company like this.
They're going for Baron. They're literally just two-manning Baron right now. I mean, the Wukong is that far ahead that he's able to do so. The rest of the team just zoning out the Shyvana. They two-man Baron. Honestly, this Wukong popping off right now for one snap.
Yeah, really, really scary. Renji has as many damage as there are pixels on his screen. In the meantime, Rift Herald did get summoned for Soul of Soy. I hyped that up. I said maybe Sheldon could turn around the game, get them something back on the board, and I dare say at this point, there's no way it's enough.
I mean, I think, like I said about Rift Herald, it's more, in my opinion, it's either a way to crack open the game, or it's a bit more of a win more objective. Like you take it and you can just win harder than you're already winning. Very rarely have I ever seen Rift Herald bring a team back from a losing position unless they get a big team fight and use it immediately to crack open, turrets in the mid lane or an inhibitor turret or something like that. It's an objective that it's good to deny it from a winning team because they can't win more, but that's probably all you were going to get if you were Soy in this particular instance.
We do have a curtain call again up there in the top lane as things are going very bad for Soul of Soy. And down bottom, it's not much better. F2Y trying to keep feeling good man underneath the turret alive, and it will not work. Wild Growth will turn that, and actually, we may have seen one snap overstep a little bit as they will lose their Evelyn in a deep dive. But I think that'll be okay.
Yeah, they're going to get the inhibitor turret in the top lane as a result because of the distraction that the Evelyn caused. You will take that every day of the week. We've got another dragon spawning relatively quickly. Honestly, this feels like very much a GG go next right now for Soy. They need to rethink how they approach the draft. Please ban Evelyn, and then maybe sort of come back stronger in the next game. Because the thing about Wild Rift, and I think a lot of you that have played may have felt this, it is nigh on impossible to come back once you lose inhibitor turrets, and especially in this situation, once you've lost all three, it feels oppressive because I would love for you to have strong comeback mechanics. I would love for a potential inhibitor respawn. Obviously, that may delay games. That's probably not where Riot wants to go with the mobile title. But when you lose inhibitor turrets, you're stuck in your base forever. Like absolutely just stuck in your base forever.
They're white knighting, 1v5ing to see if they can make it happen. The limit test will continue here. And finally, a little bit more of a concerted effort comes through for One Snap as they begin to clean up Soul of Soy for one final time. Game number 1 of this best of 3 series will be picked up in very, very clean fashion for One Snap. And Xscoundrel's tips, his number 1 guide to all aspiring players, ban Evelyn.
I mean, if you could ban it in solo queue, absolutely. But competitive, ban Evelyn. She's just too broken. She's not allowed to be played.
Do you agree with that, Dave? I need a second hot take. I'm hoping you're going to be like, no, I love playing into Evelyn.
Well, Evelyn's definitely one of the strongest mid laner right now, but Evelyn's receiving a nerf very shortly, so we'll see like how that's gonna play out, right?
I'll take it. That's like half credit on the hot take machine. Xscoundrel, we harped a lot on the draft because it was kind of a very quick game. Was there anything that you saw from Soul of Soy that like made you believe there could be a turnaround here in game 2?
It's really difficult to say, to be honest, Tej, because when an Evelyn is that far ahead and she disrupts your jungle pathing so much and she influences these side lanes so much, they were too far behind before it started. What I would say is I felt like there was a potential glimmer of hope in the way they executed the fight around the first dragon. But other than that, it's too difficult to kind of pry what Soul of Soy are capable of because Evelyn just shut that game down is too hard.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you have Evelyn, you saw what happened. Evelyn just walked into Shyvana's jungle. There's nothing Shyvana can do. And that's exactly why, I mein, in rank right now, this mage, this assassin is first pick. There's no ban. This is first pick every game. Lee Sin is not even first pick. It's just Evelyn every game.
Evelyn, yeah. And the problem that you have for Orianna in that situation, I kind of like the idea of the Lulu coming in and helping push the first wave against the Evelyn, but she didn't stay for long enough. I feel like she could have stayed and pushed that wave a little bit harder. But the problem with Orianna is because Evelyn shoves you into turret, she gets level 2 immediately. Orianna then has to make the decision between roaming and not getting level 2, so trying to roam as a level 1 Orianna to help the jungler, and then she gets behind in lane, and then Evelyn just continues to be oppressive. It's a lose-lose situation for the Orianna at the mid lane turret there every single time.
And there was also, I think, a lack of preparation from Soul of Soy, because if you, even in C server, in Korea server, both servers I've played on, I think in competitive rank, what happened is when enemy pick Evelyn, what you would do is to have your support to go mid, help mid, clear, shove mid wave. So even though, yes, your mid lane will be behind because your support is helping on level 2, but this way you prevents the early game from Evelyn from happening. You basically stop that from happening. Yeah. So even though, Evelyn's going to get level 2, but it's going to get level 2 late. Right, and then as long as you control the vision ward, if you vision plant, if you control the river vision, I think it's gonna be really good for your team. And that's not what Soul of Soy did. It just got invaded.
And Xscoundrel called it out as it was happening. He was just calling every single step of what was going to happen on the mini-map. This Evelyn's going to clear the first wave super quick, steal several camps away, ruin the jungle, win the game. And if Xscoundrel knows that, who is... I know you are a very practiced and high-level player. You've been grinding that ELO. It is a little tragic that a pro team competing in a tournament wasn't prepared for that.
Well, they had the right idea because Lulu came to the mid lane for the first wave. I think she just threw one Glitterland. Yeah,
you don't get participation trophies, Xscoundrel.
No, I know, but I think she assumed this. I think she assumed the single Glitter Lance would be enough to potentially push the wave in, but it wasn't enough. So maybe it's a learning point against the Evelyn. And I agree with Dave. Like, your support maybe gives up a bit of experience. You maybe lose a bit of pressure bot, but you need to do it versus an Evelyn because the Evelyn isn't as useful if she can't snowball and shut down the jungle. She's not a teamfight champion. If she's even, she doesn't do particularly well in teamfights because she's supposed to be picking people off and killing them before they can do anything about it. Yeah. And Shyvana would have been able to clear the Raptors, and then she would have been able to go to red buff, and Evelyn wouldn't have been able to do the same thing.
Exactly, because especially Evelyn get behind early game, then it's really bad because that hero just become kind of useless. It's really hard for Evelyn to pick up farm when there's no farm. Now, before we get into the next game though, I do want to do a big shout out to our sponsor Trovo. Trovo is hosting a variety of tournaments, events for League of Legends Wild Rift with a bunch of prizes for you to claim, including 30,000 Wall Core giveaway throughout this entire tournament on Trovo exclusively. So without Trovo's generous support, this tournament would not be possible. If you're watching the stream right now, weekly Sunday matches and grand final for Wild Rift Asia Brawl will be streamed on Trovo exclusively. So make sure to head to Trovo right now with the link in the chat. And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a short 2 to 3 minute break before we continue to game 2 of today's second match. Now, with that, we'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans and pets,
Wild
welcome
Rift!
back. Welcome back to match 2 of the first week of our group stage for the Wild Rift Asia Brawl. I'm your caster, AssassinDave. With me today are two beautiful, beautiful people, TJ as well as Xcondro. You can find their social links in the chat right now. Make sure to go ahead and follow them on Twitter. We're watching the second game between these two teams with one snap, one game ahead. What do you guys think about projection for the second game?
I think, as I said, it's so difficult to analyze what Soy are made of because it was such a compositional difference and it snowballed so hard that it's impossible. I need a better and more even set of games. And I'm having a look at the band: Kennen, Akali, Eve. I think that's Evelyn band, and I'm so happy to see it. Lee Sin, yeah. So Kennen, Akali, Eve, Lee Sin. I'm so happy to see the Evelyn band. It needed to happen.
Keys to victory after game 1. There were no keys to victory, there was a key to victory, and it was ban Evelyn. So we've crossed that threshold. Now we can start to move into this game 2. Looking at the team comps, is anything jumping out to you?
Okay, Gragas is a huge deal. When you have a Gragas, he's also relatively impressive. We've got a Lulu, either Lulu top or Lulu mid. So we've got a Lulu Baron lane or a Lulu mid lane. I think having a look at the composition, I'm imagining that it's going to be Lulu into Jarvan, and then we keep Gragas mid. Gragas is usually played mid. He's usually more impactful with his ability to roam a little bit like the Evelyn. But I'm liking the comp from Soy this time round. Much more in terms of power picks, and the Shyvana Lulu combo is going to be there. Lulu building a more heavy AP build path. So very, very excited to see Soy. If they're going to win with a comp, it's going to be this one.
We are on the perspective of Soul of Soy right now. That's F2Y and their team. One snapper on the opposite side. Currently up 1-0 in this best of 3 series. If one snap win this game, currently the red team, then that's the end of our night, Scoundrel.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It looks like we've got a lane swap coming through though here, TJ, because Gragas, you know what I talked about previously about when you initiate a lane swap, you need to make sure you have a Baron laner with a good wave clear. Well, Gragas can do that. I thought Gragas might be going mid, but this makes sense if they're going to initiate a lane swap. Gragas has the barrels, which means he'll be able to clear waves much more readily and much more easily. Jarvan, a little bit less so. So they're going to nullify that Jarvan top lane pick by initiating the lane swap and giving the Gragas the ability to wait. Are they just lane swapping back? Wait, why would you initiate the lane swap and then just lane swap back?
We gotta keep lane swapping. I don't know.
This doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that?
They did initiate it, which is where the confusion comes from. They weren't responding to something.
Yeah, they weren't responding to this. This is something that they did. And
they tried it out, Excadrill, and they did not like it. Oh, we are going back to how it was before.
But now they're just behind in experience in gold, and not much, obviously. But anyway,
you ever tried on an outfit in a shop and just been like, not me. That's what they did.
I don't try on outfits because I know what my size is. So yeah, I know what my size is, so I just buy it without trying it on.
That's what you get when you're as confident as Excadrill. Here is the one snap POV. It is a little low frame rate, so we'll try and cut off of it if it gets too bad. But I think it's valuable to see their perspective, particularly their jungler perspective, after Renji was so important to that game 1.
Yep, and he's gone for the Wukong again. Obviously, very confident in the way that he can play this particular champion. One snap in the sort of driving seat in terms of the early game. They were able to freeze top lane slightly, making it more difficult for Gragas to get into the lane. They were actually in the process of freezing the bot lane too, which why you can see Misfortune and Braum have not pushed up a significant distance in this lane. One snap, I would say, in a stronger position at this point in time. They also have what I like to call the Death Bowl. TJ, you probably have seen this composition in your time in League of Legends. This is a very traditional League of Legends composition that spans the ages. It is essentially called the Death Bowl because you have Jarvan deliver the Orianna Ball with his flag and drag combo, which is what we call his initiation. He jumps into his ultimate, which is a giant bowl, and then they can shockwave on top of it with the Misfortune ultimate over the top of that. It's again another teamfight wombo combo that if you pull it off correctly is devastating.
Renji does get a little bit caught out here in the mid lane. You can see that They were playing really aggressive, constantly stealing away camps. We don't have the Evelyn to do that this time for one snap, but you're still seeing them play really aggressively across the map. And that's really fun to see from an organized team. They're taking advantage of their characters to bully out a few camps here or there and be able to earn out a jungle advantage.
Yeah, I think Renge has done a really good job of that. Like, even if he just takes away a couple of those we calling them Krugs. They are called Krugs in this game, I assume. If he takes a couple of those Krugs away from Shyvana, those are high experience camp. And as you know, if you clear the big one, the camp will despawn. After you, if you leave any of the smaller Krugs there, they will just despawn. So Shyvana loses all of that experience regardless. So all you need to do is go and take away the main camp, and then following that, or the main creep in that camp. So once you take that, the rest of the camp will despawn if you leave it. So Shyvana loses the golden experience anyway, and you've denied it. And he's doing the same thing here. Look, that camp will despawn. He cleared the big one, and it will eventually despawn. And then he was just trying to go into just potentially impact that side lane. So that's what he did to the Shyvana in the top lane, and that camp is worth a lot of gold and a lot of experience. It's a really good way to deny that from the enemy jungler by just going in and taking the main creep from the camp, and it will despawn, and then the enemy jungler can't get any of it.
Don't call them creeps, man. That's messed up. So far, so good for Soul of Soy.
Yeah, that's the traditional name. That's the traditional name for these things, CJ. We call
so
them
far,
creeps.
so good for Soul of Soy, as game number 2 is going much better than game number 1. We're a whole 5 minutes in, and they haven't lost a devastating team fight yet.
Nope, exactly. But we do have that first dragon being started up. The Orianna Jarvan rotating over for it. Obviously, denying dragons from Shyvana is the name of the game here.
Ooh, gets dangerous. A deep dive through the backline will result in a dead Brawl. And that should be the fight. Instead, it's a full Shyvana commit round the side. Renji able to stay on the front lines. Cloud Drake does go over to the Jarvan. So one snap, so far so good, and may even be able to disengage from this mess. No, full chase down is in effect. A deep dive from the back lines. This Kai'Sa doing a lot of work, but Corchana tries to cut through the front lines, but there is so much gold being passed over to this Kai'Sa. It needs to be turned around by big Orianna plays. Luckily, we got those.
My God, that Alistair pulverized was absolutely disgusting, dude. 3 people on 5% HP. He's like the dying breath. I want to take a look at that again. A lot of this fight was very kind of janky and all over the place. Obviously, the Jarvan getting the Drake is great from denying that from Shyvana. Kai'Sa uses her ultimate to execute, but watch the Alistair. MVP. This fight was lost without the Alistair right here. He's back. Dave's back. Dave.
We lost producer Dave.
Okay, we're good. We're now watching F2Y again, so we're back onto Soul of Soy here, who are, again, slightly struggling.
I was going to say, I'm going to hold this thought because Soul of Soy's situation has just gotten worse. That was another shove through the mid lane, and I believe Rift Herald is getting picked up as we speak by one snap.
Oh, it's a 2-level advantage for the Jarvan. That's actually nutty, although maybe not the best place to be looking for a fight under the enemy turret.
You win those F2Y. Go for it. I don't think he wins that, but I wanted to see it. Does call for a rotate nonetheless. So let's frame it this way. One snap, despite everything that just happened, are still in a better position than they were last game at this time code. What can they do to get back in this? What can they do to stabilize?
Difficult question to answer because I don't think your team fight is as strong as the team fight that
maybe this
the
flash over the wall.
Nice body slam flash.
Will commit F2Y for big damage on the combo, and they shut down the Orianna.
It's a start. It is a start, TJ, and a start that they needed. They're going to pick up the turret in the same time. Again, next Dragon fight is going to be especially influential. They have unfortunately lost their mid lane tier 1, though. Mid lane tier 1 is like the key to opening the map. So I'm going to be a little stressed for Soul of Soy over the next few minutes. We have another fight kind of breaking out on the bottom side of the map here as we have that body slam coming through once more. Nice body slam from F2Y.
Some sexy Gragas action. Pressure down bottom will be the Rift Herald that we saw get picked up a moment ago. You do see the Cataclysm, the Jarvan ult spent as well to no avail. One Snap will take a turret, but not get anything more.
Actually, well, I think that's a win. Like as I said with Rift Herald, all Rift Herald can offer you, at best, it'll offer you 2 turrets most of the time. Sometimes if you're very lucky, you can use it to push all the way to the inhibitor. Getting a turret out of Rift Herald is exactly what the objective was designed for. So I think I think they're being a bit cheeky in the jungle. I don't think they want to take this fight. They're trying to set up something for the dragon.
For the dragon.
Yeah, getting a turret out of a Rift Herald is the ideal scenario. So I think they're happy with that. I mean, they've broken every tier 1 turret in the game so far for the enemy. Got Alistair breaking into a fight here.
Yeah, but before John is starting this off with a disgusting amount of damage for an Alistair, enables everything and hasn't gone down yet. The big cow bringing home the bells. This will be another pickup. Finally, the Alistair goes down, but Jammy already incredibly low. F2Y has to back away. They did just grab the Jarvan, though, which should mean there's no further punish. Unfortunately, the damage has already been done, X-Scoundrel.
I mean, they got the dragon, which is the most important thing here. You can see Renji just focuses down the dragon again, denying another Drake from Shyvana. Shyvana did try and jump over the wall here. Did she get? Oh, she stole it.
She did.
She actually stole it. That's insane. That is such a big win. I was almost certain that went in favor of One Snap, but Shyvana jumps over and gets the steal.
The initial burst was too early, and I caught that on our first pass, so I just assumed there was no way that got picked up. But a really huge play from the Shyvana there.
Yeah, absolutely. That is enough to start to make Soul of Soy a little bit more competitive in this game. Absolutely. I love to see it. I think that was a really, really good Hail Mary jump from the Shyvana to go over and take that dragon away, because now again, Infernal coming up, that puts them on a more even stead for that third dragon fight. And, you know, as Dave said in his previous analysis, that the Infernal Drake is probably the most impactful for Shyvana in terms of team fight impact. As a champion, you're going to get that true damage in your dragon form, which is absolutely insane. Again, though, we didn't have a proper cohesive team fight from One Snap, and that's what I'm keeping my eyes on. That's what I'm looking towards. Having a team fight where One Snap can actually make that wombo combo work. The flag and dragon strike combo into Cataclysm with the shockwave on top, with the bullet time layered in over that. It's very difficult to fight against that. Shyvana's getting caught out. She does have her transformation ready to go, but she will just back off for the time being.
Yeah. So we slow things down here again after that Drake got stolen away. After that fight was a little bit closer, you could see One Snap had a moment where they decided, if we don't take any risks. And they waited for this Baron to come up. Now we'll develop a full team fight around it. Front line, so far so good. Big bullet time, zones back the entire fight. And there is the Wombo combo. The front line Cataclysm from the Jarvan and a Wukong from Renji just diving into the back lines and cleaning everything up. A double kill already picked up, and that will be a triple to close out the team fight. Renji going huge on the Wukong for One Snap, and that is a devastating victory for them in this game.
Oh my god, you've got to look at Renji in this team fight. Again, just show you what he does. Wukong can obviously activate his Cyclone twice on the team fight. Jumps in, gets the initial knock-up onto the Shyvana, immediately cycles into the second knock-up, and again, the clone used afterwards for the second Cyclone. He dives onto the Kai'Sa in the backline. She is dead. The CC that Renji applied in that fight was absolutely insane. Single-handedly creating the space for his team to just layer in that sort of huge damage combos that they have, the shockwave and the bullet time. Renji is an absolute beast this game, and he's even going the tankier Wukong build, not going for that the Ghostblade GA build that we see so often. He's going for that Black Cleaver, and the Black Cleaver will be able to shred the armor during Cyclone, allowing Miss Fortune to deal more damage with her bullet time. He's building a kind of a team fight orientated build here, not looking for the solo burst kills with the Ghostblade. He's gone for the Black Cleaver to have team-wide impact, to make that wombo combo with Miss Fortune work more effectively. Really, really nice pickup here. Renji has been especially impressive for me.
And we talked about ease of execution during our first game of the day, and I think that's maybe something we should harp on again here, is it is really, really easy for One Snap to win team fights. They have so many easy overlapping combos, where if multiple players engage on the same set of targets, they will win by default.
Yeah. The problem for Soy is that for their team fight wins to become a reality, it relies on really optimal positioning from the Kai'Sa. Great CC, great exactly. You got to peel for your Kai'Sa incredibly well with the Lulu. There isn't any kind of like solid engaged follow up. And so that's one of the big problems. That's a nice engage. What on earth?
That's actually huge. A little bit of lag, but we're past it. The ball time shreds through the back of the team fight, though, just as surely as we briefly shredded through the space-time continuum.
What on earth did I just see? Oh no! Wait, they just won. They just won. Oh my god, that was a perfect way to. Oh my god, the Gragas ultimate into the Brawl ultimate just sent them into like some kind of weird portal. It was. Oh my god! What did I just watch?
It was a lag spike, perfectly timed.
Oh,
and the entire
Dave's got it.
Snap
Look at this guy.
Oh, look
Let's
at
watch
this.
again. Let's watch it again. I just want to watch
Space
what happens. What happens to the models? What on earth happened to that Oriana? She just disappeared off the map. Oh no, that was too good. That was too good.
Is the new Wild Rift space program. We're hoping to be able to compete with NASA and Space Force soon. So a 2-0 victory to One Snap in that game too. Hi Dave. Sorry, I talked over you there.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, obviously we're watching the stream with a limitation of the technology that we have. So hope everybody understand that. But go ahead, TJ.
I wanted to, first of all, of course, congratulate One Snap on the 2-0 victory. And second of all, say, even though those games were less back and forth, I think that was some of the highest quality Wild Rift we saw today. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. What about you,
I think they were dominant from the outset from One Snap. I think their macro control was impeccable. They were on the timers every time. Their team fights looked beautiful. The way that they comboed their team fight comps together was so super nice. Like, you don't see Jarvan top a lot because Jarvan top isn't particularly, or Jarvan Baron lane, because Jarvan Baron lane isn't particularly strong. But the way that they used him was primarily for those objective fights, those team fights, and it worked so well for them overall. So yeah, I think One Snap looking pretty good going into the rest of this tournament so far.
Yeah, and they're looking really strong.
They are the only One Snap are the only team that has worked out how to leave the map. So that's just a gigantic advantage headed into the rest of the games.
Legally.
Legally.
Yeah. Allowed within the tournament. They're definitely not using any tools. You know, I just give credit to their
Dave.
To the data companies for making that happen. Yeah. But yeah, guys, that will conclude our Group 1 Day 1 matches today. We have a lot of exciting matches. We have two teams, obviously, have now gotten their points, and hopefully the other teams will step it up in the next following games. Tomorrow, we'll have the Group 2 and Group 3 matches as well. More notifications on the Wild Rift competitive Twitter account. If you're looking for their Twitter, looking for their social media, make sure to go ahead and follow them with the link in description right away. Do not hesitate. Go to their social media with the link in description. Now, before we end our stream, I want to do a big shout out to our sponsor, Trovo. Trovo is hosting a variety of tournaments, events for League of Legends Wild Rift with a bunch of prizes for you to claim, including total of 30,000 wild core giveaway throughout this entire tournament. Without Trovo's generous support, this tournament would not be possible. So make sure to head to trovo.live with a link in the chat for some exclusive coverage. And a big shout out for our beautiful, sexy, handsome casters, TJ and XCondra.
We got all three.
Yeah, they got all three. They got all the qualities. Just the best. So if you're watching their stream here, their social media is also in the chat right now. Go ahead and follow them on Twitter, as they will be showing up a lot more frequently in the Wild Rift Asia Brawl. With that, guys, who is your favorite team? Hope you guys are starting to build your next most expected match. With that, we're going to go ahead and take a break, actually say goodbye. You guys want to say anything to the viewers?
Sick esports, Wild Rift. That's what I always say.
Nice one, TJ. Yeah, thanks guys for watching. I hope you guys continue to support Dave and all of the work that he does with the Asia Brawl. He's putting a lot of work in to make Wild Rift, at least grassroots Wild Rift esports a thing. So I think you guys should continue to support him because he's doing a great thing here, and I'm just glad to be part of it.
That's right. What I said.
Wow. Thank you. Oh my god, I'm blushing. You know, you guys know me for being shameless. Now I'm blushing. I can't believe it. Alright, so let's go ahead and say goodbye to all the beautiful viewers here. Thank you for coming in. Stay tuned tomorrow. A lot more announcement coming up. With that, AssassinDave signing off. See you guys tomorrow. Bye now.